Hi, Jumbo. How far? How's everybody? What's going on? I'm Asanam Kajana, and welcome back to Being While Navigating. In today's segment, we are going to be touching on conversations, authenticity, and blackness. So I have this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book titled The 100 Moments That Mattered, Events That Built South Africa by Peter Joyce. And per video, I'm going to be sharing a moment that mattered in South Africa. In today's video, we are going to be looking at the first part titled The Footprints. Now, this light is definitely quite bright, and I'm struggling to see the book, which is quite crazy, right? So, the first part today, we're going to be discussing the first people slash Sen, Khoi, and Bantu. I definitely cannot see what is on the book. Okay, so we have the first people, the San and the Khoi, and I think we've learned about the Khoi in grade 4. That was our first academic or the formal encounter with the Khoi people and where they come from. I know very well because I was in a school in Pretoria and we had a white teacher. I'll never forget that gentleman. A white teacher was quite tall and the class was quite small actually. But nonetheless, that was my first encounter with the Khoi people. And then last year actually, when I was at church, here in Pietermaritzburg, we saw Khoi people outside. Actually, that was not my first encounter with the Khoi. Actually, I was at the Union Buildings. In 2020, I don't know, my father took us to the Union Buildings for Christmas while my mom was in Pietermaritzburg. And we were at the Union Buildings, and these Khoi people, that sounds so wrong, but the Khoi, were, I guess, protesting or demonstrating at the Union Buildings to try and get the president's attention because now they're not recognized the way that they want to be. And I was so fascinated. So I went around their camp, I read about them and all of that. Then the second encounter was in Pietermaritzburg at church, where we saw them outside, and it was quite fabulous because now they were doing it to, I guess, get cash. Oh my goodness, the Khoi! They're wearing their traditional wear, of course, the skin, and I'm not sure if I'm not sure what those prickly things, what animal they come from, but yeah, so pretty. I took pictures of them. I think I'll put them in here. I took pretty pictures, and I just found it quite fun. Last year, my father told us that we have a Khoi ancestry. So quite fun, and I just found it quite fascinating. So today, first segment, first episode, first people, San Khoi. So it says that he was called op leader of the Komini clan of the Southern Kalahari, and he died in 1997. He was noted for the music he made with his mouth bow, for the long memories on his mind, and for his revealing name, which means survivor, and was given him by his parents, who had escaped from German colonial Bushman hunters in 1899. His passing was mourned by a leading musicologist who said, "His personal song was the survivor's song. He is gone now, and with him an era has died, a language and a lot of knowledge." Op, a click word which defies English pronunciation, was among the very last of the San peoples who once dominated the southern African side. Dominated is not quite the right word, for these were gentle beings, at one nature, respectful to each other and all of other living things, mystically linked to realms beyond contemporary understanding, entering dreamlands through dance and chance. But for millennia, they were the sole occupants of the land, moving as the seasons and the resources dictated. They were direct descendants of the first modern men, free to roam the great spaces washed with sun, tracking their animal prey, hunting and gathering what they needed and no more. Possessions meant little or nothing to them. Interesting. Because now possessions mean everything to us. You work so hard for each and every single thing because you want to have more. That's why they say we're so greedy, unlike them. Land ownership was an entirely alien concept, and they were untroubled by any kind of territorial competition. Yes, because they moved around. They moved around. They moved around. I think life is much more better now that we are, I guess, sitting down. We are settlers, unlike people that just move around. I don't know, mhlawumbe ngikhulumiswa comfort. I don't know. They are regarded as perhaps the finest of all prehistoric artists, using a remarkably advanced foreshortening technique to bring to life the hunt, the ritual, the graceful gait of the impala, the surge of a buffalo. The subcontinent has been gifted with many thousands of sun-decorated cave and rock wall sites, many of them galleries of individual subjects. I have a thing, like I said, bone to pick with saying a certain civilization was great in a particular thing. So my my biogeography lecturer speaks of this concept of people or things being better suited for a particular environment and season. And not that they're any better, so they're not better than us. No, they're not better. They were better suited for that environment. The very same way that we aren't better than them, in terms of technology, but I guess we've adapted and we are just suited for this environment. Given that we were in the environment as today, we wouldn't survive, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be able to navigate technology today too. So there's nothing such as being better, but instead it's being able to, I guess, navigate and being suitable for the environment that you find yourself in. It says, this Eden, of course, this beautiful land of hunter-gatherers with beautiful paint, this Eden is such it was, lasted until about 2,000 years ago, around the time when Jesus was treading the dusty streets of Jerusalem. A new group, culture related to the sun, semi-nomadic but territorial, acquisitive, workers of metal and herders. Guys, I can't see. Workers of metal and herders of fat-tailed sheep that demanded good grazing appeared on the plains of the west. The newcomers were collectively known as the Khoi and also the Kuko and is this thing Kweko and Kwekwe. I had a teacher, a geo teacher in high school in grade 9. His name was goodness, I'm gonna say his name, but yeah, Mr. Mekwe, and his Mikwe didn't have a KHWE, but it was a KHOE. So as I'm seeing CHOE, I'm thinking, is it a Kwe? I think it's Kwe. It must be Kwe. Kwe. It can't be Kuko. It's Kweko and Kwekwe. I think so, which translates to men of men. They were technologically superior to the sun, better armed, more competitive, and as they migrated from the central regions of the Atlantic coast and down to the southern maritime belt, they displaced many of what Lawrence van der Poort called the beautiful people. Guys, they were better. They weren't better than them. Just because they had tools that were needed at their particular environment doesn't mean they are better than these ones. The San did quite well. They thrived in their own environment with no metal tools. What else did they mention here? With no metal tools, nothing to be armed with, right? They survived better. So they were adapted. They were at optimum in that environment. So the Khoi or the Kwekwe coming in, they can't be better than them. The San at the time did not see a need to have these metal or be armed. So it's not a matter of being better, it's a matter of being better adapted to the environment that you find yourself in. Clock it, my biogeography teacher or the lecturer. Meanwhile, people of a wholly different culture were filtering across the Limpopo into the northern and down the eastern parts of the country. Ndu-speaking Negroid Matek pastoralists or Bantu who came from the Great Lakes region of Africa. The migratory waves, linguistically divided into Nguni and Sotho, were both glacially slow and massive. The vanguard of the first wave reached the southern seaboard as early as the year AD 400. The second great migration began around 1100, lasting until about 1400 and was much more powerful, washing over large parts of what is today Limpopo province. 3 centuries later, the Bantu were in control of large areas of the central highveld and the eastern coastal belt, and the pathfinders, the Xhosa peoples, had entrenched themselves along the southern seaboard. In the process, the San finally lost their preeminent status as lords of the veld. Some were defeated in battle, others assimilated into the new societies, bequeathing to them, among other things, the click sounds of their languages. The survivors, the pure San, were now more or less confined to the less hospitable regions of the subcontinent, the sandy wastelands of the Kalahari and the Namibia, which offered little comfort to the less hardy groups. The mature The nature of pre-colonial South Africa's human landscape, infinitely changeable in detail but conforming to a broad pattern, had been set. I find this quite interesting, very interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting, and just seeing, I guess, how the people came to be. It is the first people, as the book says. I remember an encounter with the Khoi, if I may. I was a child. We were traveling by bus from Pretoria Station, and I remember we were still waiting for the bus, and there was a family next to us, and they were speaking the language, right? So at the time, I knew English, Xhosa. I'm lying. I spoke English, I spoke Zulu, and I spoke already speaking Pretoria. Spitori or Gestswana or King, but I spoke already speaking Pretoria. And hearing next to myself people speaking with, accents, it was so beautiful and so fascinating, seeing that such a language or a culture is dying off is quite sad. And I really wonder, definitely, I really wonder what is so difficult for, I guess, it to be fully incorporated into our schools. I mean, perhaps it's because now they are a small number. If you are in Pretoria and you say, we're gonna include, in the public schools in Gauteng, and say, instead of having Zulu, Tsonga, and Pedi, we're gonna have Zulu, Pedi, Tsonga, and then the Khoi language. Some even say the Sham, right? Kamo is Sham, yes. And how many kids will be in those classrooms, or all the candidates now go into all these classrooms? I don't know, but yeah, man, it's quite interesting and fascinating. And as a fellow black person, or as a black person rather, I think we value our culture so much, and seeing another black person, indigenous black person, I guess, his culture dying off is quite sad. Quite sad. Anyways, please meet me for the next episode. We're gonna be speaking about something gold-like. I don't know if you can guess. We're gonna be speaking about gold. We're gonna be speaking about gold, treasures, hidden treasures. Of course, these are South African moments, so don't think about anything too far. Think about gold and think about South Africa. Thank you so much for tuning in to 100 Moments That Mattered on Being Well Navigated on the segments of conversations, blackness, and authenticity. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Thank you.